Entire barrels of whiskey go missing as they make their way through the 3-tier system with shocking regularity. If you want to find out how often it happens and why it happens, then stick around. Pretty girl. Before we get talking about these missing barrels, we have to thank our patron members.
Okay.
We do have Patreon, where you can donate on a monthly basis to support this channel, and everyone's names that are on the screen are on the top 3 tiers of donation. And if you want to hear more about how to support the channel through Patreon, stick around to the end. We're going to give you more details.
Yep. Okay, so what exactly do you mean when you say that barrels are going missing?
Well, a lot of producers offer the opportunity for you to taste a lineup of single barrel samples, and then you pick the one that you like the most, and they will bottle that entire barrel and send it to the entity that picked it. So it could be a liquor store, it could be a bar or a restaurant, it could be a whiskey club. And our whiskey club, Someone Say Whiskey, has done around 35 single barrel selections per year. Although we've kind of slowed down since COVID ended. We don't have as much demand, so we're being a little bit more picky.
Yeah.
But around 25% of the time, the barrels that we have selected have significant logistical issues in their journey to us. And an alarming number just disappear altogether.
Oh, we had one that just completely disappeared.
That never to be found again. And I think that consumers sometimes find that shocking and interesting. So I thought, well, maybe we can talk about it.
Okay. Well, what causes all of the logistical issues?
Good question, Lindsay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So some of the issues are at the producer level. It could just be something as simple as a COLA approval.
Okay.
So if they're doing some sort of new formula, they have to submit for a new formula approval, a new label approval, and that can sometimes cause issues. We've been dealing with one where we did a pick with the Patreon group, and they created a cigar blend, but we're using a newer technology to do it. And nobody exactly knew what verbiage to put on the label to fully disclose and to make sure that you were in compliance with the standards of identity for the class that we applied for a label in. And the reviewers have been able to find problems with things that we never thought that there'd be a problem for. And so sometimes it's something as simple as that. It could be scheduling, because bottling a single barrel is very laborious and often requires individuals that can write on labels, because on your single barrels everything is different from your previous release. There could be supply shortages with glass or whatever. I've heard of some major delays from Wild Turkey selections, because when the war in Ukraine started, apparently it disrupted their supply of glass, and they ended up switching bottles for one of their bottlings. But most of the time, the problem is not at the producer level, it's at the wholesale tier. And most of the time, it's an issue with the wholesaler's warehouse. The staff are managing the inventory. And what can often happen is when you're a producer, each one of your different releases has to have its own SKU, right? And it has its own UPC code. And so you'll have a UPC that's on your bottle, but you can also have a UPC that's separate for your cases. And some of the wholesalers' inventory systems have a scanning process, and they want you to have a separate UPC for your cases. But because it is expensive to maintain all of these UPC codes, and it can be very confusing, some producers use the same UPC for their small batch and their single barrel release. And that can sometimes lead to confusion in the warehouse. And since you've got some warehouse worker that they just got an order for some brand of whiskey, right? One of the ones that we lost entirely was an extremely valuable Redwood Empire. It was a single barrel of some really high-aged MGP whiskey. And so you've got some warehouse worker that gets a purchase order from a retailer, and it says they want Redwood Empire. And they're walking around the warehouse and they go, oh, here it is. There's a whole pallet of Redwood Empire right here. And so they will break into your single barrel, which is often like saran wrapped, so that all the cases are together. When they ship with the barrel is there on the pallet. The cases are packed up around it, and they saran wrap the whole thing. And some guy walks by and goes, oh, I've been looking for Redwood Empire. Here it is, right? And so because there can be some overlap in the UPC codes, and because you can have individuals that work in the warehouse that are maybe not paying as much attention to detail, it is not entirely uncommon for the inventory to get confused and the wholesaler to send your single barrels to somebody else. Sometimes you don't lose the entire barrel. Sometimes you just lose cases. And so that can be another issue when you're managing single barrels. Is you do the pick, the producer tells you we have 30 cases, and you think like, oh cool, we have 30 cases to satisfy all of our club members. But by the time it makes it to the store, five cases have disappeared because those 5 cases got used to fulfill an order that it shouldn't have been used for.
Right, and your people are waiting for it and you don't have it.
And you don't have it, right? Some of the barrels that we have lost were not due to that issue. It was literally due to the wholesaler shipping the barrel to the wrong state, right? And so they get a PO to pick up a particular single barrel. At the same time, there's probably a PO from another state for the small batch product, and they send the wrong truck to pick up the single barrel and ship it to the other state. And once that happens, the wholesaler's not willing to pay the cost to redistribute. And there may even be some legality about, switching states and all that stuff after you paid excise tax and all that. I'm not sure. But we have had instances where they just picked up the wrong inventory, or the right inventory, but shipped it to the wrong location. Welcome back to Pretentious Whiskey Reviews. Today, we're evaluating the 1982 Pappy Van Winkle. Ooh. I'm detecting a hint of Bolivian virgin tears and East Indian, West Indian grasses.
Yo, you don't need all that crap. All you need is an American whiskey aroma kit from bourbonrolltalk.com. Developing your palate is a learned skill. Over time, you can train your taste buds without being a douchebag. Get yours today at bourbonrolltalk.com.
I'm also getting Indian nutmeg. We've also had instances where the warehouse staff fulfilled an order with the single barrel product that was actually for a small batch product. And it's not uncommon for the single barrel versions to be worth a bunch of extra money. And so when the retail store gets the wrong inventory and they realize, like the whoever it was that got that Redwood Empire, like those bottles were worth hundreds of dollars. The regular Redwood Empire, I think, was around a $40 bottle, right? And so the store is happy to sell it, probably keep it in the back and just tell their best customers about it. Say, hey, I got something real special. And then they get to keep the additional profit. And you may not ever find where those bottles actually ended up at. But some of the time, you do have individuals that go, hey, I was at, this other liquor store, and I found this bottle that has a sticker on it. And the sticker says that it belongs to a different liquor store. Why did that happen? And that is, and we've even found some of our own picks where we had cases that disappeared while it was in the warehouse. And some of our club members were in some liquor store and, the next town over and was like, oh, we found the 5 missing bottles, right? And in those instances, we just buy them and get them back into the club so that club members could get access to them. But there's really no way to get the store to return the inventory. Sure. Because once it goes out to the store, at least in Texas, they're not allowed to make them take it back, right? And part of the thing that creates this problem is that most states have a rule that the liquor store can't have an exclusive relationship with the wholesaler because they don't want any of the businesses to be at a disadvantage. And so it is actually possible that a liquor store orders a barrel, it hits the warehouse. Another liquor store is able to see that inventory in the inventory system, and they purposely order that just to be sneaky, right? And they're actually ordering the product that they know does not belong to them, but the warehouse workers just have a PO. The PO matches the inventory, and so they fulfill it, and they send it over to them. And it's not uncommon for a retailer to take exclusive bottles of another store or restaurant simply because they can, right? So whether it's the fault of the producer, the wholesaler, or the retailer, it's shockingly common for there to be major logistical issues when trying to bring a single barrel to market, and shockingly common for barrels to disappear altogether. If your whiskey club or your store announces that they have a barrel coming and it never hits the market, don't be too mad at them. We had to learn our lesson the hard way. Mm-hmm. It happened too many times that we told people, hey, get excited, these bottles are about to hit. And then either they don't hit, or a bunch of them are missing and there's not enough for everybody, or something like that. So just try to show a little bit of grace if something disappears, because chances are the entity that told you about the barrel is not the reason why it never hit the market. So if there is an entity out there that you deal with, like a whiskey club or a retail store, and you're asking for them to be more forthcoming with what barrels they have coming to the market, and they've decided that they're not going to tell you that information, it may just be because they want to make 100% sure that they're going to be able to deliver on their barrel promises before they say anything to anyone.
Yeah.
And that's why, as a club, Someone Said Whiskey will confirm that the bottles are actually in the store. Mm-hmm. And if they don't get there by Monday, then we don't announce that the barrel is going to be dropped on Saturday. And so we always give about a 5-6 day notice, but never more than that, because we are releasing it as soon as we are for sure that we have the inventory. So what do you say we give away some whiskey?
I think we should.
Okay. Well, these are all single barrel selections that I've participated in through the Someone Said Whiskey group. Yeah. I think we have enough whiskey. We ought to be able to do 3 sample packs.
I think we should do that.
Okay. So we're going to do
these are yummy.
3 1-ounce sample packs. You're going to get our Nulu single barrel that we did. This is a 1792 full proof that we did. This is a Litchfield rye.
Super yummy.
It is super yummy.
I'm going to just show the tater stickers while you're talking about it, because it's so fun.
Okay. We're going to give away a Corsair Dark Rye, which has a lot of dark chocolate flavors in it. And then this is the Bullet Single Barrel that you went with me to Kentucky to pick. And I think we named this one Fruity Pebbles because it had so many good fruit flavors. Yep. And then we got this one, which is the Presidential Dram. And this line of whiskey, they name everything based on term limits for the different positions.
Oh, yeah.
And that indicates to you how old the whiskey is. So this whiskey was at least 4 years old.
Very clever.
Because it is a presidential, and a presidential term is 4 years. So we've got that one. And then we did a little kitschy... remember the little song about the bill that's trying to...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the tater sticker on that one. So we'll do 1 ounce of each one of those, and all you have to do to win is like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to be notified of future content and future giveaways, because we give away something in every video. And of course, you need to go into the video description and fill out the web form. We'll get your basic information, run a randomizer, post it publicly, get your shipping details, and get your samples out to you absolutely for free.
And it's also really helpful to believe Chrissy when she texts you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, if you...
the amount of people that are like, is this real?
Is this real? Yeah, we give away a lot of stuff, and it's all coordinated by Chrissy Lynn, our full-time employee for the podcast. Yes. And often when she reaches out to people to ship them their free stuff, they think it's a scam, and they refuse to give their address. So don't do that. Yeah. All right. Why don't you tell them how they can support the channel?
Well, we do have a Patreon, potato. We have lots of really cool member benefits, like distillery takeovers, barrel picks, in-person meetups, discounts on merch, lots of really, really cool things, and lots of different tiers at different price points. So there's something for everyone.
And you also help support this channel by creating all of our merchandise.
All the merch. Yeah. Created, sourced, all of the things. I'm very proud of what we have. And I think we have a little bit of something for everyone there too.
Yeah. If you love whiskey, you're going to find something you feel like you can't live without at bourbonrealtalk.com. And you can also support us by considering me as your residential real estate agent in the Dallas and Houston metro areas. My real estate business has subsidized this channel since its inception, and I will warn you, if you hire me and we close the transaction, you will get an epic bottle as a closing gift. Yeah. And I mean epic.
Yeah, with an epic transaction coordinator.
Yes, and you'll also be dealing with Lindsay there as well. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, we'd love to thank you for the view and let you know a little bit about our show philosophy. We're all about bringing people together around bourbon. And that's something that is important to Lindsay and I because we lost my younger brother to suicide in 2014. And in the aftermath, I started to get more involved in the whiskey enthusiast community. And I started to notice how whiskey had this magical quality of bringing people together. And even sometimes people who maybe wouldn't have formed connections with each other outside of whiskey. And those were the kinds of connections that I feel like my brother was losing and missing towards the end of his life. And it made me think, maybe if I can get you connected to whiskey, maybe whiskey will do the rest of the job and get you connected to others. And along those lines, we ended up starting a forum to help foster connection called Bourbon Real Talk Community. It is a Facebook-based forum, and it is absolutely free. And we had to do that so that we could curate the conversations and make sure that we had filtered out all of the hate and negativity that you can see sometimes in whiskey enthusiast communities that is put there by what we call whiskey trolls. And so we do have that troll-free environment, and there's a lot of positivity and connection going on in there. But those trolls not only convinced us to start Bourbon Real Talk Community, but also convinced us that if they can hate, then we can love. And it is possible to love somebody online if it's possible to hate somebody online that you don't really know. And that's why we end every episode the same way, and that's this. If you woke up this morning and you're unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that we love you. We'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk. Cheers.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm testing my new whiskey glass that I had designed.
Why?
Well, there's a company out there that's a real Carin, and she threatened to sue us.
Really? You don't say.
Yeah, so we had been producing some traditional tulip-shaped whiskey glasses.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
We never used the name.
Right, of course.
But they claimed to own the shape of the glass. Mm-hmm. And since I'm just a little guy, I couldn't fight.
Right.
But do you know what that motivated us to do, Wes?
What?
To go out and design a glass that was actually made for high-proof American spirits. So the company that had the problem with us, their glass was originally designed for low-proof Scotch whiskey.
Oh, okay.
80, 86 proof, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And you know what I had noticed? Every time I would nose a really high-proof, high-quality spirit in the United States out of this glass, all I got was ethanol burn.
Yeah, a little burn there. I felt that.
And so we went out and we designed this glass that's actually designed for those higher-proof spirits. And I'm so confident in this glass that if anybody were to go to our website and buy one, I'm offering a money-back guarantee.
Wow.
If you get that glass to your house and you find yourself one of these traditional tulip-shaped glasses and you nose a high-proof spirit side by side and you can't tell the difference, I will gladly give you your money back.
So what you're saying is they can really stick it to the Carin and support the little guy by going to bourbonrealtalk.com and ordering one of these with absolutely no risk. They could get their money back if they don't prefer it nosing it to the other?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you love small business and you like sticking it to Carin's, that's the way to go.
Stick it to Carin. bourbonrealtalk.com.
Cheers.